Regular meeting of council to order at 3 p.m. for Monday, April 27th. Jody?
Thank you. Yes, good afternoon. Please note that council meetings are streamed live and recorded on YouTube. Attendees acknowledge that in accordance with Section 20 Sub 2 of the Access to Information Act and Section 4 Sub C of the Protection of Privacy Act, names, addresses, and other details provided when speaking at a council meeting will be publicly shared. Should you have any questions related to the collection or disclosure of personal information, please contact the Legislative and Advisory Services Division for the Town of High River by sending an email to atip@highriver.ca. That is ATIPP@highriver.ca.
Thanks, Jody. Adoption of today's agenda. I'll ask for a motion from Councillor Nychuk that the council adopt the agenda for the regular council meeting April 27th as presented.
Happy to give you that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Adoption of last meeting's minutes. I'll ask for a motion from Councillor Brookwell that council adopt the April 13th, 2026 regular council meeting minutes as presented.
I'll give you that motion. Other way. I'll give you that motion.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. First item here is public comments. If there's anyone that would like to provide comment regarding any item that is directly on today's agenda, you're more than welcome to come forward and do so at this time. See none? Move on. First item of business, the 2025 audited financial statements and financial information return. Michelle, and I think there's reps from MNP here as well.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. You have before you the 2025 audited financial statements for the town of High River, along with the financial information return. These are required annually under the Municipal Government Act and must be submitted to the province by the 1st of May. And here to present the audit report is Will Zobel. He's the partner on our engagement from MNP LLP. And if you'd like to go ahead.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. So as she pointed out, my name is Will Zobel, and I have with me Mina Church, who is the senior manager on the audit. And we're here to present the audit report. So the audit report is outlined on our opinion is outlined on the second paragraph on the audit report. In our opinion, except for the possible effects of the matters described in the basis for a qualified opinion section of our report, the accompanying financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the municipality as at December 31st, 2025, and the results of its operations, changes in remeasurement gains and losses, changes in net financial assets and cash flows for the years then ended in accordance with Canadian public sector accounting standards. Now, the next paragraphs is the same as last year. The opinions qualified for asset retirement obligations and contaminated sites, which we're working with the town to be able to eliminate that qualification. Did everyone hear that and understand that, or was I close? Okay, should I start from the start? Am I close enough?
No, I think it's just the piece on the asset retirement
Okay.
piece. If you can repeat that, please, Will.
Okay, so in 2023, the asset retirement obligations section of the handbook came into effect. And so the qualification is there, pointing out that the ARO, the audit report's qualified because the ARO and the contaminated sites isn't in the financial liabilities yet.
But we are still working towards that and has to be done, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Any questions for Will from council? On the report? Yeah, on anything? Councilor McGonigal?
I have a few. So, first off, I'm looking at cash and equivalences. They're reduced by 7 million. Is that apparently, from what I can see? Is that attributable to a number of things or any single thing?
So you're talking about the cash flows.
No, I'm
The
looking
cash?
on the very first page, under financial assets, it says cash and equivalents.
Okay, so if you go to page 9 of the financial statements,
Okay,
this is the statement of cash flows. So what this is a reconciliation of your cash from starting with the income statement, so your net income, and it reconciles down to your cash and to your closing cash. So that's page 9. So there's many, many items that impact your cash. Some of the big ones was capital acquisitions of almost 20 million.
of what?
Capital additions, so capital asset purchases of almost 20 million in the year. Purchases of investments of 9 million. So
Sorry, I'm just wondering if perhaps, if there are questions around the audit report, that Will would probably be the person to answer those questions. And if there are no questions around the audit report, I could perhaps address the questions for the specific balances, just that, because I'm the one that prepared them, whereas they were just, not just, but they've audited them. So they're not as involved or as familiar with the day-to-day operations and the changes that way.
That's fair. I appreciate you saying that, Michelle. So we'll come back to that in 2 seconds. Are there any questions for Will directly related to his report? Because that's the motion that's on the floor, is whether we're accepting the report or not, right?
yes.
Questions directly related to what Vicky is asking about, let's direct those to Michelle. So if there's something that needs to be addressed on that, I'll let you answer Vicky's question then, please, Michelle.
So we're not going to answer it
No,
now?
no, I'll get you to answer Vicky's question
are
now.
good now?
Please,
Okay.
yeah.
So the changes in cash for 2025 would largely relate to the activity for capital additions. So we had a lot of major activity in the year, and that's what you are seeing on the statement of cash flow, as Will pointed out. We had just under $20 million in capital additions. So that pulled down both the cash balance and drew from investments. The other thing that might be a little bit different between the 2 years is it depends when cash was brought across from those investments. So there may have been I believe there was a fairly significant draw of cash from the investment account into the cash account at year end 2024, whereas that didn't happen at year end 2025. So primarily it'll be the $20 million going to significant capital projects, along with the usual operating.
So are we talking about the pool?
More than not, yes, substantially the pool.
Thanks.
This was the one year where there was a full year on the pool.
So do you want me to hold my questions until the report?
If you got more for Michelle, we got time.
Okay. So according to note 6, our deferred revenues are down by 3 million. Is that also the pool?
It will be in part. When we ended up funding the pool, we definitely committed a lot of the legacy municipal sustainability initiative grant along with the LGFF to that. Additionally, there are draws to some of the other deferred revenue. There's still some Alberta Environment and Protected Areas grants that are being drawn down by the very last of the renewal activity. And then there also would have been some pathway activity in particular that would have drawn down what we have for the Canada Community Building.
Okay. I notice that in expenses, there's an increase of about 150,000 for FCSS. Is that attributable to anything in particular?
Typically with FCSS is that they match a lot of their expenses to their revenue streams. So I believe it will be an increase in revenue in addition to those expenses. However, there is also a portion that's not eligible under the FCSS reporting. So the town does cover additional expenses around the facility, and as wages go up, that will be part of it as well.
And there's reference in the somewhere in the expenses to daycare. What's daycare?
Daycare will refer to the Family Resource Network. It gets disclosed as that.
Okay.
So it will be the space at Charles Clark and their related activities. So, and
I see that there's a decrease in the net financial assets of 7.7 million and change. And again, is that the capital expenditures that we referred to above?
Yes, principally what we have is our sort of current assets and liabilities. The assets are being drawn down, but there's a corresponding $14 million increase in the capital asset, intangible capital assets. So it is definitely a movement from our cash and investments in particular into longer term capital investments. And as before, the pool remains the major activity in the year.
Then I noticed that accumulated operating surplus is reduced from 2024 to 2025 by 11 million. What was that about?
Sorry, accumulated operating. Sorry, which one again?
Accumulated operating surplus.
Okay, so the. Sorry.
Not on page
A decrease of 11 million?
Approximately 11 million. That's what I see. If I can find it again.
Okay, because the net surplus is actually up from just under 299,000 to just over 304,000. So I'm not sure I'm looking at exactly the right number.
What page are you looking at?
Probably the unrestricted surplus is down.
I'm looking at page 8,
Okay.
accumulated operating surplus. Ah, sorry, seems to have increased. Not sure where this note came from.
Okay, page 5.
Page 5 is just a list of the schedules.
Yeah, if you look. The document, but versus page 8 of our agenda. 8 of the agenda. The document page is page 5.
So, yeah, in terms of the statement of financial position, there is an increase in the net operating assets. So that's where I wasn't sure.
Okay.
There may have been a problem with the draft. A number was inadvertently deleted before we went final, and on final review, M&P was able to notice it, and that was maybe adjusted, so it may have been that the comparative number wasn't quite right in the draft version. But the final version, it is up to 304,000 from 200, just under 299.
Then in the segment disclosure section of the financial statement, I noticed that there, for the 2 years, 2024, 2025, and into the budget, there are net deficits, repeated net deficits in protective services, transportation, planning and development, and public health and welfare. Would you agree that these are areas that are largely supported by tax revenue?
Yes, those would all be
Okay.
supported by tax revenues. Any additional revenue coming into those streams would probably be nominal compared to the tax share.
And there's mention of still owing long-term debt for the field house, and that's going to continue on for several years yet?
I believe the middle of 2028. I believe there's 2 payments in 2026, 2027, and then midway through 2028. But I'd have to double check.
That's all I have for now. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions regarding Will's report? See none. I'll ask for a motion from Councillor Cooey that Council receive the independent auditor's report from MNP LLP and adopt the audited financial statements of the Town of High River for the year ended December 31st, 2025, and that Council authorize the Mayor and CAO to sign any required documentation confirming Council approval, enabling submission by May 1st, 2026.
I will give you that motion, Mayor Snodgrass.
Thank you. Any further comments, questions? See none. All in favor? Carried. Thanks, Michelle. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
None for me. Thank you. Sweet. Council committees bylaw. Jody?
If it is okay with council, is it all right if I speak to the next 2 agenda items together, being the council committees bylaw and the statutory bodies bylaw?
Yep.
Perfect, because they are linked. Even the resolutions are linked where they rescind different sections of the current bylaw. So having said that, I'll speak to them together. I'm happy to answer questions on each individual bylaw as they're being presented for council consideration today. As council may recall, administration completed work to consolidate several bylaws that established the town's board and committees, as well as provided the guidance for the operations of those boards and committees. Council adopted that consolidated board and committee bylaw in 2024. Since the adoption of the consolidated bylaw, the library board has shared several concerns regarding the town taking away the autonomy of the library board that it is governed under the Libraries Act. Further, there were concerns regarding conflicts of interest between sitting on the library board as well as being a town councillor. Administration and the library board were working to resolve the concerns via the library board's lawyer and the town's legal counsel. However, earlier this year, both parties agreed to work on the concerns together to move forward in a more timely and cost-efficient manner. In doing so, administration has developed 2 bylaws to replace the single consolidated board and committee bylaw, those being the council committee bylaw and the statutory bodies bylaw, which are reports under 5.2 and 5.3 of today's agenda. The difference being that the council committee bylaw is to establish and oversee boards and committees that are created by council. This is particularly the Community Vitality Advisory Group and the Emergency Advisory Committee. These 2 committees do not have legislation that oversee their operations, whereas the statutory bodies bylaw is to establish and oversee boards and committees that do have legislation that govern their operations, including the Libraries Act, matters relating to assessment complaints regulation, and matters relating to subdivision and development regulation. Council has much more flexibility in how they manage council-created committees, while there are detailed requirements and boundaries within the statutory bodies bylaw that council needs to follow and would now fall under that statutory bodies bylaw. If you are looking at the council committee bylaw, it is essentially the same as the board and committee bylaw. However, it is being reduced to apply only to that Community Vitality Advisory Group and the Emergency Advisory Group. The statutory bodies bylaw is going to oversee the Town of High River Library Board, the Assessment Review Board, and the Subdivision and Development Appeal Board. Administration believes the 2 bylaws will now provide the consistency and oversight that is required to manage all of the town's boards and committees. So recognizing that that was a high-level overview of the 2, does council have any questions of this shift in general or either of the presented bylaws?
Thanks, Jody. Questions from council? And we will do the council committee bylaw motions first, but as Jody just presented on both at the same time, you can mix and match as you wish. Councillor Cooey.
Thanks very much, and thanks, Jody, for that. Just a couple of questions and one point of clarification. I totally appreciate and understand taking the voting status away from the council rep on the library board. I think it is a difficult spot for that council member in certain situations where you're wearing both hats and trying to vote at 2 different tables. So I appreciate that move. Where I'm not clear is when we get to the actual bylaw, where it states we are continuing with the council rep as a liaison. And I did read it a couple of times and I just couldn't find, I see it in the request for decision document, but I could not find it in the actual bylaw where we would still, it got removed that we would have a rep.
Yes, so it doesn't say it. It actually used to say that council would appoint a library board member. However, we removed that piece from the bylaw, and actually I believe it's Schedule 2 of the statutory bodies bylaw, I believe.
5, I think. Oh, maybe I'm in the different one.
Maybe. However, it does not specifically state that we will have a liaison, because a liaison is not something that we track or appoint in the same fashion. That role would exist, or it could shift if council ever does desire to move back to the current status of having a council-appointed library board member. However, right now, you will not find that anywhere in the bylaw and no reference to a liaison.
And we wouldn't find it in our committee's document either.
No, the liaison role, and council can absolutely give us direction on how we should
Okay.
track this. We don't track any of our other liaisons in this fashion, so we could still have it on our board and committee schedule, just make it very clear that they're not a council-appointed library board member. They are acting as a liaison.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, and that may answer your question, but I would like to know what council's preference is on that, so council can decide.
I mean, I guess personally, I think it's important to have someone at that table with non-voting status. So that's my opinion anyways. Thank you.
Councillor McGonigal?
I guess that's my question. Do I step away or do I keep going? What's the intent of this bylaw or the intent of this council? I'm happy either way.
Oh, you're staying.
Pardon?
You're staying.
Oh,
I just
geez.
don't know how yet. I'll go to Councillor Nychuk first and get his question, and then Jody, I'll get you to answer how we appoint the liaison if we're not going directly on the. Go ahead, Michael.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, not so much as a question, but just a couple of observations. Councillor Cooey mentioned that it can be difficult for the, although I've never been with the library board in my time on council, it can be difficult for the councillor that is on the board when it comes to voting privileges and decisions that are made. I think it can be difficult for the board as well when they have a council person sitting there. So I think it facilitates some clarity or betterment of operation and decision making when you don't have that. I don't like using the word conflict because it sounds like the council member and the board are at odds where they're not. It's just those situations that arise where you might be challenged in whether you put your hand up or you don't, or whether the board wants to have that discussion in front of a council member when it's something that they feel is an uncomfortable situation. Maybe we could put it that way. So that leads me to the importance of a council member being in that position still. So I think there's 3 of us here on this side that we're, not to say those on the other side aren't curious, but how we maintain that relationship. I think it's important to have that council position there for that continuity of information and support and everything else that goes along with it. So I'm curious how we're going to get there, because that doesn't seem to be in the information we have today, because it does talk about rescinding Councillor McGonigal's position, but then there is nothing for quote unquote an appointment in this liaison position. And I guess to speak from my chair, I think these liaison positions that we do have, they get put with our boards and committees under the organizational, that organizational piece that we do at the start of every year and everything that we sit on, just so that there's some transparency and clarity to the public where we are, not only from those appointed positions, but the other positions that we may serve that aren't spoken and formally positioned out of this chamber. So thank you.
Thank you for that. If you go to page 16 of 43 of the report, or it's page 104 of 210 of the entire agenda. So of the statutory bodies bylaw, there's 43 pages in that, and page 16 shows the changes. Keep going a little bit more. I think you need to keep going. It's in the next report, Val. Yeah, that guy. So page 17 of this one. Oh, 16 of this one. My apologies. Perfect. So under number 5 there, if you just want to scroll down a little bit, this is where you can see that, yes, those appointments were removed. So perhaps instead of just deleting those lines, maybe we add back in a line that council may appoint a council liaison and have it captured there. And then we would amend today's resolution to remove the appointment of Councillor McGonigal as the council appointed library board member, but rather be have that rescindment go through, but then also have an appointment to be a liaison. I'm seeing lots of nods. Okay. And Mayor Snodgrass is scribbling, so let me see if we can get this right.
While the mayor is scribbling, I'm just going to jump in because I know there's a couple people from the library board that are here. We're all nodding our heads up here, but I'm assuming that you guys are, sorry, ladies, apologies, that you would be in agreement to maintain a council presence as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Told you weren't going anywhere, Vicky. Okay, so no further questions. Good discussion on that and making that clear. So we'll start with the council committee's bylaw. So I'll ask for a motion from Councillor Jones that council give first reading to bylaw 4653-2026, the council committee's bylaw, that council give second reading to the previously mentioned bylaw, and that all council give unanimous consent to proceed with third and final reading of bylaw 4653-2026, the council committee's bylaw.
I'll give you that motion, Mayor Snodgrass.
Thank you. Questions? All in favor? Carried. And Councillor McGonigal, I'm going to read this one for you because it's long, so if you don't mind. Motion from Councillor McGonigal, the council give third and final reading to bylaw 4653-2026, the council committee's bylaw, and that council rescind the portions related to council committees, specifically schedules 2, 3, and 5 of bylaw 4626-2024, the board and committee bylaw. Accept that one.
Well, I'll let you read that one, Mayor
Thank you.
Snodgrass. I'll make that motion. Thank you.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Okay. Now the statutory body.
I added one more piece of.
You added more things.
Just that council appoint. council
I did.
Oh, you got that.
Yeah, I got that. That's what I was. What do you think I was scribbling? It's not just drawings. Statutory bodies bylaw. I'll ask for a motion from Councillor Nychuk that Council give first reading to bylaw 4654-2026, the statutory bodies bylaw, as amended to include the revised section 5B that offers appointment from Council to a liaison to the library board, and that Council give second reading to the previously mentioned bylaw, and that Council give unanimous consent to proceed with third and final reading of bylaw 4654-2026, the statutory bodies bylaw as amended.
I'll give you that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. I'll ask for a motion from Councillor Brookwell that Council rescind the remaining portions of bylaw, I'll have a motion from Councillor Brookwell that Council give third and final reading to bylaw 4654-2026, the statutory bodies bylaw, and that Council rescind the remaining portions of bylaw 4626-2024, the board and committee bylaw being the board and committee bylaw in its entirety, and further that Council rescind the appointment from the October 27, 2025 org meeting of Council of Councillor Vicky McGonigal to the High River Library Board, and that Council appoint Councillor McGonigal as the Council liaison to the High River Library Board.
I'll give you that motion.
Thank you. Questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Thanks, Jody. Item 5.4, the recreation rate bylaw. Jordan and Alex.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This item before Council is bylaw 4660/2016, the 2026 recreation rate bylaw. This bylaw rescinds and replaces the current recreation rate bylaw with changes limited to 2 areas: birthday parties and outdoor courts. For birthday parties, administration adjusted the package to improve consistency in pricing and facility use. The small arena and half of Cargill Fieldhouse components were reduced from 2 hours to 1 hour, and a facilitator was added to the Fieldhouse option. These changes improve schedule flexibility, and the proposed rate decreases from $150 to $125. For outdoor courts, administration finalized terms with the tennis club and pickleball club. Each club will pay a fixed seasonal rate of $800 for 2026, with bookings capped at 30 hours per week. The bylaw also introduces hourly court rates for bookings outside of those arrangements and for other community users. No other recreation rates are changing through this bylaw. Administration recommends that Council give the required readings to bylaw 4660/2026 to keep the bylaw current and incorporate these limited updates. I'm going to turn this over to Alex to provide some clarifying statements that appeared to us earlier today.
Yeah, thank you, Jordan, and thank you for your work on this. Thank you, Mayor and Council. I just wanted to clarify, in the table you see for outdoor courts, it says previous rate was $150. There should have been added a $600 there as well, because pickleball club was paying $150 per season, tennis club was paying $600 per season. So I just want to make sure that that's captured, that was the rate that the tennis club was paying last season, not the $150, just for the purpose of being accurate on what the previous rate was. We did come to agreement with both clubs for this season for $800 fixed rate per season for the season this year, with the understanding that those rates will increase year over year, and in consultation with the clubs when we come to the end of summer. That's the time we will start that process with them. In addition to that, we have the 30-hour cap per week on bookings. That way that it's ensured that we still get the open to the public usage that we've had aimed for in these negotiations. And then 2, at the same time, we have now went to the user group model with both clubs. So we've made some good progress there in terms of the goals we want to hit. I would say for the amount you see that we are proposing for each club is a combination of timing to ensure that that we can get these clubs out and booked and ready to go for the season. And then two, during the negotiations with the club, we had more conversations and it was more understanding for us that, you know, the clubs had already sent out their rates and it would have been based on what they were already going to previously expect to pay. So with a combination of those things, we felt we came to a fair and slight increase agreement this year, with the understanding that we will be looking at increases at a more gradual rate year over year. That is fair to the clubs, but also fair to the municipality and fair to keeping the courts open use and public use as well. So that's kind of where we land on that, just for more context.
Thanks, Alex. Thanks, Jordan. Councillor McGonigal.
Thanks, Mayor Snodgrass. Alex, you'll be giving us in September, I'm assuming, and I'm requesting, a calculation of, you've limited the clubs to 30 hours a week for the 800. So what I would like to know is how many hours a week are individually booked by others? So will you be giving us that information in, say, October?
Yes, I can provide that information if we do get those bookings.
I'd like to see it. Thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor Cooey.
Thanks, Mayor Snodgrass. Just a comment and a question. I think I appreciate that you're going to negotiate with them at the end of the season. Absolutely hard for them to be planning for a year that's about to launch. So that's a great adjustment to the plan going forward. Just a clarification, actually, and I think I've answered my own question at George Lane Park. When we look at the cost of a power site, it's $35, and then a power site plus a tent is $25. I assume that's $35 plus $25. Is that correct?
I'd have to get back to you on that one.
Yeah, that's fine. It was just, I was just reading through it and I wasn't really clear if I was reading it correctly. I suspect I am, but I just wanted clarification on that rate. And it's nice to see the other rates staying the same. So user groups won't look at increases this year for that. Thank you.
I will just add, we focused on spring, summer for this season. We are going to be evaluating the next seasons in the fall. In addition, obviously, with the new facilities that come with it, and then also just evaluating our models on the other spaces in the facility to ensure that we have the proper subsidization rate and all those things.
Yeah, I'll ask for a motion from Councillor Cooey that Council give first reading to bylaw 4660-2026, the 2026 recreation rate bylaw, and the Council give second reading to previously mentioned bylaw, and that Council give unanimous consent to proceed with third and final reading of the previously mentioned bylaw.
I'll give you that motion, Mayor Snodgrass.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Ask for a motion from Councillor Jones that Council give third and final reading to bylaw 4660-2026, the 2026 recreation rate bylaw, and the Council rescind bylaw 4642-2025, the recreation rate bylaw.
I'll give you that motion, Mayor Snodgrass.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Thanks, Alex.
Thank you.
You again, Jordan, operating budget amendment.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The item before Council is the proposed 2026 operating budget amendment. As discussed at Committee of the Whole earlier this afternoon, administration is bringing this amendment forward before the property tax bylaw comes to Council in May, so that the operating budget and municipal tax levy reflect the most current information available. The proposed amendment reduces the 2026 operating budget by $175,000 from $36,711,930 to $36,536,930. $36,536,930. It also reduces the 2026 municipal tax levy by the same amount, $175,000, from $17,715,697 to $17,540,697. This amendment applies to the operating budget and tax levy only. If approved, administration will use the revised levy in the final tax rate calculations and the 2026 property tax bylaw. Administration recommends that council approve the amendment as presented.
Thanks, Jordan. Councillor McGonigal, question.
One question I neglected to ask earlier. What's the event for 20,000 that we missed?
The $20,000 increase to the operating budget is you're referring to?
Yes, it was for an event, a missed event.
Yeah, it's the events budget. There's a cost center when we were going through the budget, when we were going through the budget deliberations before. One of the cost centers was for events, and they had budgeted for $100,000, but we didn't update that number prior to the approval. It was sitting at $80,000. So as a part of this amendment, we wanted to increase that to the originally requested from our budget holder to $100,000 so that she can do the services that she was intending to do.
I'm still not, okay. I'm still not, this is, we're supporting events? That's what this budget item is about?
Yeah.
And what event did we miss?
I don't think it was a specific event. It was just the overall budget amount that gets allocated to that department, that there was a $20,000 miss there. It wasn't a specific.
So why are we increasing it? I don't understand why we're increasing it. We looked at it and approved it at 80,000. Why are we increasing it to 100?
It was an omission when we were putting the budget together for council deliberations. It was $80,000 on the budget that we had presented to council and that got approved.
Right.
But then since then, we were made aware that we had forgot to add that $20,000 to make it a full $100,000, which was her original budget submission. So we are trying to fix that omission to make sure that she has the full budget for the service levels that she's providing.
I'm still not understanding what we're paying the extra 20,000 for. It's an event? Is it a group of events?
Yes. Thank you. These. Am I on? Just making sure. Okay, perfect. The historic value was $100,000. So
the historic what?
The historic value of this budget for events was $100,000 for the town of High River. This includes the events such as Canada Day, the ice sculptures down the main drag here. The service level commitment in your budget package for the list of events for the annual season was reflective of $100,000. There was an error in the number side of that. It's 80,000. So the two options for this is provide the historical service level of our events put on by the municipality at $100,000. If it stays at the $80,000, we would do $20,000 less events in our community than previous years. So $100,000 was our standard carry for the events budget line item to provide the events you are used to. $80,000 is underfunding that and would require events to be removed from the docket.
Okay. That goes against the principle of zero-based budgeting. I'm assuming on the zero-based budgeting that whatever department that was said we need $80,000 to do these events. And now we're saying, well, last year we put in $100,000, so we better raise this. Is that what we're doing?
No, the department did submit with the $100,000 budget. There was a communication error, plain and simple. And that is why it's coming back to council to state that this line item was meant to read by administration's recommendation, 100,000, and was represented in the numbers as $80,000. It was an error in the budget.
I guess myself, I would like to see what that $100,000 is composed of before I vote for this amendment. Yeah.
A little bit of blues going there. I don't know if can we provide Heather's budget?
We can absolutely bring back the full detailed listings of costing. I don't have that in front of me.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out if we can defer this motion until we get that amount.
May I suggest?
Can we spitball what events we put on? Like you said, Canada Day, the ice sculptures, the foam run, the carnival,
New Year's Eve fireworks.
the which?
New Year's Eve fireworks.
New Year's Eve fireworks, Canada Day fireworks.
Oh, we absolutely could. I just would have to gather up my team, pull up the budget, and bring you everything like in a line by line. Like we could do it. It just would take me time to bring it over.
Okay, well, Chris is, yeah, like that's going downstairs and
Yeah.
going through all that GL stuff. While Chris is frantically finding something, I'll go to Councillor Jones's question right now.
Thank you, Mayor Snodgrass. It wasn't really a question. I was just going to say I support what has happened in the past. I support the events that have gone on, and how Heather has brought our town to life on some of those key events. And I know that we've talked about the foam run, the carnival, the fireworks, and it was last term was a big push to have her bring these events and sort of bring life to our town. So I'm in support of keeping our operating budget at the 100,000. I feel that it is worth what she puts in and the time and effort and what it brings the people out downtown and around town. So I'm in support of it because I know, especially from last term, what events have changed and how that has changed the way people see our town in terms of staying here rather than leaving on a nice day.
If you'll pardon my greenhorn here, I'll do my best, and hopefully, if Riley, you can fill in a blank or two for myself. In our February Winterfest, we are at $20,050. March Loose Moose, we're at $7,500. April is $4,000. The June event is $3,000. Really help me on June. July Canada Day is $41,500. Alberta Day is just over $11,000. The New Year's Eve fireworks is $10,500. Your October event, I just don't have listing name on October, November, but October is $4,000, November is $9,000. I apologize, I don't have the historical knowledge sitting here in front of you, Vicky, personally from attending these. I did come into this one post-submission. I can bring back more detail on the actual naming of each of those events with the detail, but that is the month categorization.
Do you need more detail to be able to vote on this?
Yeah,
Okay.
we went through a lengthy budget process, and we did that for a reason. So we don't want to spend people's money without knowing what we're spending it on. And I know $20,000 may seem not like a lot to you, and I haven't added these figures up in my head. I'm not that fast up here. I don't know if they come to 80,000 or 100,000, but I think we owe it to the community to know why we're adding this 20,000. I appreciate that you've reduced it on the other two items, but we can't just willy-nilly add 20,000 without knowing what it's about. That's my opinion. And I support community endeavors and community, whatever we do for the community, have done it for events in the past. I support them. I just don't think we should be spending $20,000 without knowing why.
Okay, so on that, in order to do that, Councillor McGonigal would have to propose a motion to postpone today's motion regarding the operating budget amendment, and that council, all of council will vote on whether we postpone that or not. Regardless of whether we do that, I respect your question, and we can absolutely, once we go through the GL, you could come back and tell us exactly what was spent last year with the 100 grand on each of those events. So nothing's being done willy-nilly. These are events that have been going on for the last minimum of 3-4 years that the town's provided. So, but I understand that Councillor McGonigal would like clarity on that. So if you would like to propose a motion to postpone, then all of council can vote as to whether the rest of us agree to postpone.
Mayor, if I may.
Go ahead.
We would like to get the property tax bylaw in front of you guys for early May, so that we can meet that deadline, I guess. So is there any chance we can maybe make an amendment to this this budget amendment to exclude the $20,000 and just have the other two do amendment later for the $20,000?
I'd like to leave that for council to decide whether they wish to postpone what you've put in front of us today or not. And if we agree to postpone it, then we can come back and maybe make amendments to that. So, Councillor McGonigal, I'm going to leave it in your hands as to whether you wish to propose a motion to postpone.
Thank you, Mayor Snodgrass. I would make a motion to get my numbers right here, to postpone the 2026 operating budget amendment until such time as we have better detail on the amounts that we're adding in.
Okay, so the motion is on the floor from Councillor McGonigal. Any questions, comments? I'll say my bit. I would like to proceed with the motion that's in front of us, the $20,000. I am 100% comfortable with it. I know what it's been used in the past, and I am more than comfortable with moving forward with the amendment that Jordan has proposed today. So, but I'll wait for other councillors to share their thoughts, please. See none, hear none. No, Councillor Nychuk.
Thanks, Mayor Snodgrass. I understand where Councillor McGonigal's coming from, but I'm going to vote not to postpone it because I have a good understanding after being here for a few years of where that spend is. This isn't $20,000 for a specific event. This is the entire budgetary allotment. and we had the expression and the clarity from administration that there was an error in the process. Although when you're dealing with financial issues, you never like to see or hear an error. I don't think this is an error that is significantly affecting where the budget is at. I would like to be able to give Jordan the ability to go ahead with what we have in terms of bringing the tax for this year forward, and postponing that creates I guess some delay to the public as well, in terms of everybody expects our tax roll to come out, and it comes out at a specific time of the year, and people anticipate that and plan for it, and I don't want to hold that up in any way. What I might suggest is, if to Councillor McGonagall's position, having that information is important. I'd like to see it too, understanding that $100,000 and how it's broken out, because I don't recall it through budget. I'm sorry. I'll just admit that openly, but I do know the events that go on, and trust that the amount that we're expressing here of 100,000 covers those events. And at a point of reviewing it, we could always come back and adjust the budget again later on, and that would just be a surplus then that we would have, that we wouldn't be spending. So there is a way to, I guess, verify the dollars, and in the event that they were untoward as appreciated by council, we could remove them from the budget at a later time, but we can go ahead with the work at hand, so to speak, right now, and deal with that item differently in the future. So I won't be voting to postpone, but those are my reasons for it. So thank you.
Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Mayor Snodgrass. I agree. I would like to see this go forward. I know what those events are and appreciate them, but to be, I guess, open and transparent, and for Councillor McGonagall's request to still have that come forward regardless of what this vote is.
Back to Councillor Nychuk.
Thanks, Mr. Snodgrass. And just to bring the, I guess, to bring this a little bit full circle, maybe just for me and hopefully for everybody else, in committee of the whole, we talked about some other things in relation to this and how it was going to affect taxation, and ultimately I think we had downstairs the average dollar per household, and the way the budget had been put forward to this point, and what that average allotment per household would be, and with the work that you've done here, Jordan, what that would be now. Maybe you could share that with us. I don't know if we can pull that up, or if you can just speak to it, because it actually, what you've done here decreases that per average household amount. So to put the public at ease, this change isn't going to, well, it depends on your property and your assessment and all those things, but on average, it's not going to put a taxation increase to the average household. So I just thought maybe that information might be prudent as well.
Yes, sir, will do. So the Coles notes of it is, after we had the approved budget pushed through, is based on a specific tax levy using a estimated assessment base. With that estimated assessment base and the approved tax levy, we were expecting a 3.3% tax rate increase. Once we got the actual numbers of the assessment, it came in 1% under that. With that assessment, which is slightly lower, it forces an increase to the tax rate to meet the same levy that council approved. That was 4.5% tax rate increase as a result of that process. During budget deliberations, it was pretty clear that council would like a 4.0% or under 4.0% tax rate increase as a result of our deliberations. And so we looked at other conditions that were happening since then, and we noticed two things that would reduce the tax levy further. The first one was the delay in the aquatic center. With the delay in the aquatic center, we don't require as much of much labor. So then we did an estimation. We determined that we could reduce the tax levy by $180,000 as a result. Another thing that we noticed is we looked at getting a grant for body cameras for protective services. I think I have that as $20,000, I believe. 15, thank you. $15,000, which we could would have normally been funded by tax levy as well. So we're in the amendment proposal, we can reduce that as well. And then as a part of the amendment, because we had identified that omission of the $20,000, we included it in this amendment so that we can make the events budget whole. So between that, with the updated assessment, the reduced tax levy, we can get to a tax rate increase of 3.5%. So that's the chronology of it. That's what got us here today. So on average, through that whole process, before this tax amendment, there would be no change to the affordability to the residents. Whether it was 3.3 or 4.4, it was still $30 on the average household. With this amendment, we're reducing that levy, and now the average impact on the average household would be $28. So it's a reduction overall through this process of $2.
Thanks for taking the time to go through that. Appreciate it.
Okay, on the motion to postpone, that Councillor McGonigal has on the floor, if you're ready for the vote. Those in favor to postpone? Opposed? Motion is defeated. So we will therefore, I'll ask for a motion from Councillor Nychuk that Council approve an amendment to the 2026 operating budget, reducing the budget by $175,000 from $36,711,930 to $36,536,930 as outlined in the enclosed 2026 operating budget amendment schedule, and that Council approve a revised 2026 municipal tax levy of $17,540,697, a reduction of $175,000 from the levy previously approved by Council.
I'll give you that motion, Mr. Mayor, separately not included in the motion, but to Councillor McGonigal's request on the information. I just want to make sure that administration can bring that back to us. And maybe I'd just even take that a little bit farther than the events and the dollars, if we could have maybe a couple past years of historical spend so that we could see that data, how we're trending, where we are now and what we budgeted for this year. That'd be great. Does that sound good, Councillor McGonigal? Councillor McGonigal? That's good? No, just the request for information. You didn't forget.
We're just making sure that staff come back with your requested.
It's all right. Thanks, Jordan.
I'd like to have the information, but I'm not going to support the motion.
That's fair. Yep. So Councillor Nychuk's motion to approve the amendment. Those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks very much, Jordan.
Thank you.
Residential curbside garbage collection. Nicole?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Today I bring before you a request for decision that administration continue providing residential garbage collection services for the residents of Town of High River using internal resources. On December 8th, 2025, Council advised administration to pursue a contract model to tender the town's residential curbside collection services based on the potential for cost savings. In February 2026, the request for proposal posted on Alberta Purchasing Connection and the Town of High River website closed. 6 proposals and an evaluation committee of 3 staff members proceeded to evaluate and assess all of the 6 proponents based on the town's adopted procurement policy. Upon completion of the evaluation, administration prepared a report for delivery to council on February 23rd. Prior to the council meeting, the proponent retracted their bid due to an error in pricing, and therefore the bid was considered to be withdrawn. The evaluation committee reviewed the remaining proponents and then prepared this report for council review. After careful consideration and discussion, the cost savings for a third-party residential service was not significant enough to warrant the possible interruption of service and loss of direct oversight of staff and services at this time. Administration is requesting council allow for additional time to extrapolate more data to project the actual cost for services, which will be gathered through the town's new general ledger system, which launched on January 1st this year. During this additional time for analysis, using this ledger, administration would like council's approval to continue providing these services using internal resources and continue with further discussion during the 2027 budgetary process regarding the transition to third-party services by comparison to procurement of 2 new garbage trucks. Do you have any questions for me?
Thanks, Nicole. Questions from council? I'm personally very happy to see this come back, and we're going to keep this in-house. I was getting more and more nervous about service level to our community, and when we start looking at lowest bidder stuff, I get very nervous about that. And so I'm happy that we're going to continue doing it because I think we do a fantastic job of it. So, Councillor Cooey.
Thanks very much, and thanks very much, Nicole, for your report. Just clarification on the new trucks, because, and I could be wrong, Councillor Brookwell and I were discussing this earlier. We did keep that included in this year's budget discussions. Is that not correct? But from what I'm understanding from you is we will have that conversation in the next budget year.
Yes, that's correct. It wasn't included in the 2026 budget.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from council? Councillor Nychuk.
Thanks, Mayor Snodgrass. In terms of potentially subbing this service out, if we're still going to consider going down that path, I guess we're not going to have that conversation today, but we're going to need to hire some people because we have a couple of people that are retiring. Is that not correct?
They're both retired now.
They're both retired now. Well, I wish them well. That's great. And then we have this expenditure on capital expenditures on trucks. Curious, to have that conversation, wondering in terms of the people and positioning them in the future consideration of going to a contracted service. How are we positioning those employees? Have we provided them contractor service that says right now you're the operator for waste removal, but potentially you could be moved to this or that position? Do we have that flexibility? If we hired those people already, did we have that conversation? Or, because I'm already, we've gone down a road that could potentially be hard to rewind if we wanted to have this as a contracted service. I'm just thinking ahead, and maybe I'm behind because I wasn't in the thinking ahead parts of the conversation when you guys were working this out. So I don't know if I really had a question there. I guess maybe I did in terms of the people and their positions. Trucks and capital expenditure is maybe something else. So.
It's a good question, Councillor Nychuk. Because we were in this process, we did not post for recruitment for those 2 operators. So currently we do not have those operators, but also the 2 operators were included in the 2026 budget as if we were going to continue in-house service. If council advises that we want to look at the data for the next 6 months, then we can do that and potentially recruit 2 temporary positions that might make it challenging to find 2 operators that have the qualifications to drive those garbage trucks for 6 months. If we did hire in-house, like if we had already hired 2 permanent people, we can move them within the roads division, yes. As long as they have their Class 3 certification.
Thanks. Yeah, the answer is there's some flexibility there if we,
Yes.
yeah. Okay, thanks. Appreciate it.
No further questions. I'll ask for a motion from Councillor Brookwell that Council direct administration to continue providing curbside residential garbage collection services using internal resources, and that administration will have further discussion during the 2027 budgetary process with the additional data gathered through the new general ledger, and the Council will refuse all submissions received from the request for proposals.
I'll give you that motion, Mayor.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Thanks, Nicole.
Thank you, Council.
Dining car lease. Alicia?
Yes, thank you. Good, Mayor and Council. So this one's pretty straightforward. As you know, the rail car changed ownership recently, so this report simply formalizes that change by renewing and transferring the lease over to the new owner. It's a 5-year renewal starting on May 1st with a slight rent increase to $390 a month, which is consistent with the current and original schedule outlined in the original lease. And then there are also a couple of minor administrative updates, including how property taxes are handled to get full cost recovery to the town. Any questions on this one?
Thanks, Alicia. Like you said, pretty simple, pretty clear. See none, hear none. That's for a motion from Councillor Cooey that Council approve the renewal and transfer of the existing lease for the lands located at 408 1st Street Southwest, High River, effective May 1st, 26, including minor administrative and financial amendments with base rent for the renewal term set at $4,680 per year, $390 per month, and the Council authorized administration to execute the lease agreement with 2716825 Alberta Incorporated.
I will give you that motion, Mayor Snodgrass.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Thanks, Alicia. Strategic priorities chart and work program. Chris?
Thank you, Mayor Snodgrass. As Council recalls, on March 30th, 2026, we held our quarterly update meeting that went through our top 5 priorities that were set last December, I believe it was, or end of November. Within that, you can see that there has been progress being made to date. You're seeing within your top 5s, one of your top 5 is coming off the list. High Country Drive is being removed as the design and the budget allocation has been provided for the permanent solution for the High Country Drive intersection. And that's being replaced with doctor retention and attraction strategy and moving forward with kind of lease review of that, of the CCMC. On the list as well are your top 5 include land use bylaw. The scope review was completed in January, and that's being shifted to draft bylaw amendments because engagement is going to be completed by tomorrow afternoon on the phase 1 engagement aspect of things. High Country Drive is being removed from the list, and the doctor retention and attractions being added with a lease review. Northwest Roads, the date's being shifted to May from March, just to get some more information to Council. Northeast Area Structure Plan has been changed from plan engagement because engagement was completed in February, and this is moving into the draft planning aspect of things for the Northeast Area Structure Plan. And then the sports field upgrades as well. Council gave us clear direction through the budget process to enter into agreements with both Christ the Redeemer as well as Foothill School Division to take control over the Highwood High Ball Field and the Notre Dame Collegiate soccer pitch as well. Agreements have been signed by the town and sent on to both school districts for execution, as well as the budget money is being allocated to continue the renovations of those fields in coordination with both school districts. In addition, there's a couple of new things to be added to council's next list. One item to be added is strategic land acquisition strategy, taking a look at key pieces of land that council should be looking at potentially acquiring in some form or fashion or protecting. And then to be added to the later list are two other priorities that move up the list. One is economic development, a public presentation, and then the other one is school tax public education program. So based upon that and the conversation we had through that day on strategic planning, the recommendation is to move forward with those changes as proposed and provide council with the options to either consider those, defer them back to committee of the whole for conversation, or defeat the recommendations before you today. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Questions from council? The only question I have is when we're talking about the roads in the northwest. I know we're dealing with Cold Trail and 64th. I just want to make clarification for 112th in the northeast that there is still some investigation going on with that road as to what the geotech is underneath that road, which will then come back and formulate how much it would actually cost to rebuild or redo anything on 112th, correct?
There is still something within the budget, capital budget outline item to continue doing work on 112th.
On 112th, okay. I just don't want to make sure that everybody knows that just because it's not listed on the strategic priorities chart does not mean there's nothing happening on 112th. It's work that's underway. So, any other questions? I will ask for a motion from Councillor Jones that Council adopt the updated strategic priorities chart as follows. Number 1, land use bylaw. Number 2, doctor retention and attraction. Lease review at CCMC for the docks. Number 3, the Northwest Roads, Cold Trail, 64th Street, investigating options. Number 4, the Northeast Area Structure Plan, the draft ASP. And the number 5 being the sports field upgrades, execute agreements with the 2 school divisions, and further that the strategic priorities chart and work program be adopted as presented.
I'll give you that motion, Mayor Snodgrass.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Councillor Board and committee reports. Anyone wish to share? Councillor Nychuk.
Thanks, Mayor Snodgrass. Since we were on the topic of audits today already, this morning I sit on the Foothills Regional Services Commission, which is landfill and wastewater. We received our positive opinions on the qualified audit for that commission. So from a fiscal perspective, that group, that organization is performing as it should from a fiduciary perspective. So just thought I'd share that. Hello, Mr. Kinghorn. How are you?
Welcome home. Looks good on you. Councillor Brookwell.
Just wanted to report that on the Foothills Regional Emergency Services FRES Commission, we've done through our budget and that. We did get to tour the facility. That's an interesting facility upstairs with all of the TVs and that. They're looking to add a 5th station because we're hopefully, I think we're in the negotiations now to add Jasper as part of that whole map. So we already do Banff, so it was natural for us to handle the emergency 911 at the Jasper one as well. So it's been quite interesting, and we're researching a little bit further on other stuff. So that's about it for now.
Thank you. Councillor McGonigal.
I haven't had meetings with the library board or the museum since our last council meeting, but I just wanted to remind everybody that there is a brand new exhibit up at the museum. It is well worth looking at, and I'd like to encourage everyone to stop in and have a look. Some amazing artwork in there. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor. Nothing further further. Council correspondence requiring, or sorry, Councillor Cooey.
Thank you, Mayor Snodgrass. Well, this request for support does not directly impact me. It is my full-time employer, so I feel that I should step out for this conversation.
Okay, thank you very much. Just regarding the High River District Healthcare Foundation dinner and auction sponsorship request. It's pretty simple. This is what we do every year, being a premier sponsor for this dinner and auction. So I would ask if Councillor Nychuk could give us a motion that Council direct administration to donate $5,000 to be a premier sponsor for the High River District Healthcare Foundation 40th annual dinner and auction.
Mr. Mayor, I'd be honored to give you that motion.
Thank you.
Great organization.
Any questions, comments? All in favor? Carried. And at this time, Council will move into a closed meeting to discuss one land item and a labor item. So I'll ask for a motion from Councillor Jones that Council recess the regular Council meeting on April 27th at 4:25 p.m. and move into a closed meeting.
I'll give you that motion, Mayor Snodgrass.
Thank you. I think it's in the agenda. Online?
Online, yeah.
It's in the...
Do you want everyone to leave and we end the live stream, or I don't
Yeah.
know what the closed items are, so.
Yeah, no, we're